I love living in the future. That is absolutely amazing. Okay, GSXR750SP, what are we calling this? Recommission. If you haven't already, I'll link in the top corner here. Go and watch part 1. This is part 2. This really isn't going to make any sense if you haven't seen part 1, because this is a straight continuation. Let's put that down over there. This is a straight continuation of what we were doing in, where's my tea? A straight continuation of what we were doing in part 1. So I left it in part 1 with a rusty cylinder wall on cylinder number 2 and various amounts of shmoo and rusty goo in the other cylinders, and I really felt like I just wanted to get in there and clean it. Anyway, here's what I've done, and I've done it to every single cylinder. I got the piston about a third of the way up the compression stroke with the valve shut, and I put some fuel, some storage fuel plus in, just storage fuel but normal fuel. I put some fuel in the cylinders, and then I sort of packed the spark plug hole with some microfiber cloth, and then I just rocked the engine backwards and forwards so the piston was going up and down in the cylinder a bit, sloshing the fuel around just to wash the cylinder out of all the rubbish. And then I got my sucky $5, $10, $15, whatever it is these days, machine, and sucked all the old fuel out. Should have filmed that, didn't, but it came out fairly manky. And then I got busy with an airline, dried them out, and bore scoped them, and it makes me I feel a lot happier about it. There's no, you know, they look clean in there now. The rust on the cylinder wall on number 2 hasn't really, doesn't look that much different. Let me show you on the bore scope. I do a recording for you. I've discovered that I can press record on here, which is quite handy. Are you recording? How do I know? Oh, that was a picture. That's not going to help. Hold it down, Jim. There we go. So, in number 2, if I can get it in the hole, so it looks fairly clean and dry in there now. The rusty cylinder wall, if I can find it, there, you know, the piston's been going up and down past there. It doesn't look like the piston is picking up on that in any way. It's very difficult to know whether or not, let me stop that recording. It's very difficult to know whether or not that, has that been in my, have I been looking through that the whole time and not noticed? That's my fuel supply hanging up. It's difficult to know whether that rust on the cylinder wall, what am I trying to say, the sort of depth of it, because the bore scope can give you a very sort of misleading view of what's actually going on. I think if you had the head off and used Mark 1 eyeball to look at it, it would look very different. That could just be sort of rusty staining and it not be as quite horrific as it looks like on the bore scope. Anyway, waffling. Here's my plan. So all those cylinders are all clean and washed out. Next, I'm going to mix up some Storage Plus fuel and some 2-stroke, like 50-50. So a real heavy 2-stroke mix. I'm going to tip it into each cylinder. I'm going to rotate it around a few times so everything gets coated, because we're getting close to the end of the day now. I'm going to drain the oil and filter. I'm going to leave it overnight, and then when I come back in the morning, we'll turn it over for the first time with the electric start. Put the battery on, which hasn't got yet. Turn it over with the electric start, and let's compression test it. I know we'll get sort of slightly wonky readings because we've got really oily cylinders, but I just want to get a little bit of an idea of whether it's got compression or not, really. If that tests okay, I think what I'll then do is I'll get the carburetors off and start working our way through the carbs. I've got, without waffling too much, you saw in part 1 when I took the float bowl off and the little and the plastic float holder drop down, the little O-ring for the choke jet. I've got those on order. They should be here tomorrow with any luck. And the O-ring for the float needle valve seat, they should be here tomorrow. I've also ordered a gasket for the cover that was available, and the little Doughty washers. What else did I order? I had a look while I was looking at parts to see whether the inlet manifold rubbers were available. Of course, they're unobtainium, but I could get that. They've got O-rings on them to seal them onto the cylinder head. The O-rings are available, they're on order, they're coming. And I also ordered, they weren't particularly expensive because the clips that clamp the carbs to the inlet manifold rubbers, the screws have been non-JIS'd. They were available, so I've ordered 4 of those too, so that it'll be much nicer having new clips, you know, because you see them, don't you, on this sort of bike, the carbs are on display. And then once the carbs are on, we'll get it running, hopefully. And then I'm thinking, because it's done, what's it done? It's done 17,000 mile. I'm wondering whether or not the valve clearances have ever been done. They probably have been done, because it looks like it's been quite loved. My thinking is, I'll go and do a couple of miles around the block. I won't even put the fairing on it. I'll do a little tiny road test, get it up to temperature, make sure it's not burning loads of oil, etc. And then I think I'd like to let it, well I will, this is the plan, assuming we get it running. I'm going to let it cool down. I'm going to redo the valve clearances. I'm going to redo the compression test and do the valve clearances. I've also got a cam cover. I might be a little bit premature, but I've ordered a cam cover gasket and the little spark plug tunnel gaskets. Mammoth waffle. Right. Let me get some 2-stroke mixed up with some fuel, tip that in the cylinders. I'm going to do the oil and filter. You don't need to see that. And then tomorrow we'll do the compression test and cross our fingers it's got good compression, and then we can get the carbs off and get to a point where it makes noise. Right, onwards and sideways. I was gonna like walk out of shot, you know, nice ending, but the bloody camera's following me, so I can't. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Fuck's sake, stop looking at me. It's creepy. Interestingly, or not, non-genuine filter, and the drain bolt doesn't have a washer on it. So today is tomorrow. I confess I've already cranked it over. The oil light went out immediately. So last night I drained the oil out, took the oil filter off. Bloody non-genuine oil filter, that upsets me a bit on a bike like this. And there was no drain sump plug washer on the sump plug bolt. Bit bizarre. Anyway, it's got oil in it now, fresh oil. I left it to drain overnight. I filled the cylinders up with 2-stroke oil fuel mix. Just let that seep down past the rings overnight. And it spins over lovely on the button. Oil light goes out immediately. Exactly what you would expect. So, compression test time. Cross your fingers. It's not really a top tip, but it's probably worthy of a mention. I'm cranking it over here, right? I just got a bit of rag across here because there was some fuel 2-stroke oil mix in it, obviously. I've got the low tension side of the coils disconnected. We talked about this, I know we have. Really for 2 reasons. Really not great for an ignition coil to not have somewhere to earth out. And without plugs on these HT leads, fuel vapor, sparks, obviously it could go horribly wrong. Right, let's get that out of the way. Let's get my compression gauge. Let's do a compression test. Right, I'm just going to go straight in. Straight to the bad one, number 2. The suspense is bloody killing me. I just want to know whether my work here is done already or whether this is gonna continue. Can you see that there? I think you can. Contact, full throttle. Oh, you fucking beauty! Fuck me, 200 psi. So that's not a real number because those cylinders are quite oily, but fucking hell. Okay, that's amazing. Let's do the others. That's number 2, the bad rusty cylinder. Number 1. Not quite as sprightly. Not quite as sprightly as number 2, but it's still 160 psi. I'm taking that. It'll be very interesting to, assuming we get this thing running, to run it and do a few miles and then redo the compression test, you know, once it's run, because these aren't, like I just said, these aren't real numbers because there's quite a bit of oil on the cylinder walls. Right, number 3. Stick you there so you can see it. Can you see that? I think you can. Yeah, that's going up to 200 psi. Okay. You know, there could be untold amounts of fucking shit under the valve seats, and you know, this engine would have been parked, and just because of the way an engine works, some of the valves would have been open. Rusty valve seats maybe, which is why I don't want to immediately go in and do the valve clearances, because you would potentially get a false reading if you had, you know what I'm saying. It needs to run a bit and bring itself back around before we do the valve clearances. Right, number 4. That had some rusty schmoo, didn't it? Number 4. Okay, that's the same. So 2, 3 and 4 are all, you know, knocking on the door of 200 psi with oily cylinders. Number 1, I'm just going to revisit number 1 just because that was a bit low. Now it's turned over a little bit more. Yeah, it's coming back around, that one, isn't it? It's a good 175 now. Okay, that makes me very happy. So the next thing, which I'm not looking forward to, I've got to say, is get the carbs off. Oh joy. And I'm expecting some of the bits today for them, so with any luck, by the end of the day today, we might have a decent set of carburetors ready to go back on. Right, carburetors off. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this float ball just back on the one screw, so I'm not, when I'm pulling the carbs out, having my carburetor fight, it's not going to get hung up on anything. Wrong way. No, what you doing? Not even the right screw, Jim. Focus. Right. In my defence, you are in the way. What did I want to show you? Oh, this weird arrangement. So there's this little bar. Oh, look out, my kid's coming. This little bar pulls out like that, and then you undo the clips on the airbox here, and the whole sort of thing pushes inside the airbox. It's probably easier to show you when I have the carbs out of the way, and they're an absolute pain in the arse to get back together. Okay, so theoretically that whole lot there will just go inside the airbox like that. You get the idea. Get rid of the clips actually, and if you get the clips off, the whole thing will just disappear like that, and that gives you just enough clearance to like that. Right, I'll fight these off and I'll reconvene with you when we're on the bench. I'll tell you what is good. They've disappeared inside there now. I'll show you when the carbs are off, but the airbox rubbers seem really supple and pliable. Is that the right word? Tell me, you GSXR experts, in the comments. It's only got one throttle cable. Didn't the GSXR the normal 750 have a return as well? So just one, yeah, one cable. Get that breather off there. A couple of breathers here. Float ball breathers. Pop those carbs back and jiggle them out with the throttle cable still attached. Then we can disconnect the throttle cable once they're out. You know what I'm saying? Interesting to see how, I can't do it one-handed, but all the clips are loose and they feel really solid on there. So I don't know how rubbery these are. They don't feel particularly rubbery. If I put you on the tripod there, ow, that's my knee. You can watch me struggle. Actually, not as bad as I thought they might be. There we go. You beauty! There's just enough room to slide them out. Wiggle, wiggle. That's it. Cable. I need a rag. I need a rag. Let's put that there. Let's get a 10mm spanner. Here's interesting. This carburetor, number 3, wasn't on properly. I can't, it's hard to film. I'll film it with my phone and insert video here. It's not very happy. Let's try and get a better angle. Yeah, it's not been on. You getting that? Light's a bit shit. Not ideal. How do people fucking do that? My mind is blown constantly. What's the saying? Never underestimate the predictability of stupidity. That will go back into shape. I'm sure they are actually quite rubbery still, and the airbox rubbers are particularly rubbery. If I could actually focus on it. Anyway, we can overcome that. It's just a little bit annoying. Right, carbs are on the bench. I will show you the carburetors. They are a really cool set of carbs. To be fair, these tops I was trying to explain, wasn't I? So you do this one, you push and turn, I think, yeah, and then look how easy it is to change the slide springs and the needles. How cool is that? Just comes out in one piece. So when you're racing and you need to make changes, that little piece comes off there. I seem to yes. Like that, you can focus, make your adjustments and bosh them back in real quick. Anyway, let me get these stripped and let's see how minging they are. I think they're pretty good, to be honest, based on the first float bowl we took off, but I'll get all the brass out, soak everything, put those new O-rings in. Let me get them stripped and I'll bring you back in. In fact, I don't need to put that back in there, do I? I can take all of them out and lay them out. Oh yeah, that needle's a bit green and furry, to be honest. Oh, and that one. Let me get it focusing, it's a bit slimy. I must make sure I have, because these pipes are rock hard, I must make sure that I've got pipe in stock. can't buy the genuine Suzuki pipe anymore, but you can buy an exact copy. Because if I haven't, I'm going to need it for, well, maybe this afternoon, but probably tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, before I took them apart, I did the whole diaphragm thing, and they seem, in fact I can do that, put my hand over there, can't I? You can tell, got no springs in them now, but you can tell the diaphragms are good. We've talked about that, haven't we? I know we have. Nice and rubbery still, looking really nice condition. Okay, onwards we go. Bring you in a bit closer, the big reveal. Can you see from there? I think you probably can, can't you? Let me tilt you this way a bit. Okay. Pretty bloody good, guys, aren't they? See, that's immediately alarming. That's just, there's no rubberiness in that one. Is a little bit, see how that's a little bit stuck? That one just, there's no rubberiness. Those O-rings, this is the choke jet in here for the choke circuit. That O-ring there is rock hard. And interestingly, while I've been taking these apart, look what just turned up. So they're the O-rings for the float needle valve seat. This, they just, see how loose they are? They would just piss fuel out. They're, literally, that O-ring is doing nothing. So they're the new genuine O-rings for there. And then these are the genuine O-rings for here. Right, let's keep stripping. Let's have a look at that emulsion tube. Looks, I need my little brass punchy drift. Tappy tappy. They're just a bit, they're not bad, they just, let's get some bits to show you. They're just a bit meh, you know what I mean? Like, definitely need cleaning, get it in the frame. They're just, yeah, they're just old and tired like me. Yeah, those are a bit better. That's a bit shinier, that one. Anyway, there's also, if they want to come out, yeah, these plastic carriers for the slides come out, and they have a, let's turn the carbs over. They have a little O-ring on them, which is stuck in here now. Little O-ring that sits on there like that. Try again. Which is as hard as fucking plastic. They need to be replaced. And then the other thing, potential issue with them, but they seem really good. Is that still in shot? See the little fuel spigot? There's a fuel pipe. One fuel pipe does cylinders 1 and 2. the other does 2 and 3. They feel nice and stiff and rubbery still. There's like a little top hat shaped piece. I'll get one and show you. I'm not even sure if these are the exact ones for this, but they have this little rubber seal that goes over the end of the pipe, and then the pipe pushes into the carburetor. They feel really nice actually, but it's not a biggie to split the carbs and replace those, so I'll do that. Just try and avoid fuel leaks because the carbs are such a pig to get on and off. Okay. Why you not come out? There we go. Right, let's get these soaking in carb juice. And what then? I really need to focus on these carburetors, because getting it running now and doing a few miles on it is the next thing. The brakes will be alright, they're binding a little bit. I'm not going to do the brakes just in case there is some catastrophe when I'm riding it. I don't want to spend money unnecessarily. And the other things, did I show you? No, I didn't. I showed you the O-rings, didn't I? I've got float bowl gaskets, they've been here for forever. And then the other bits that have arrived, I've got a cam cover gasket for when I do the valve clearances. I've got the O-rings for the inlet manifolds. What else we got? I've got obviously got a set of spark plugs for it. And then I've got these clips, nice new genuine Suzuki clamps. They're like a black zinc finish. They just look nicer, don't they, when they're new, and the heads aren't all rounded off on these, obviously, because they're new. Right, I'll stop talking. I'm going to get these carburetors soaking, and then in terms of work on this, I've got like a million other things to get on with, so I'll soak these carbs, and then I might show you them going back together. Let's get the carbs on. Oh, there's a new air filter somewhere for it as well. Here, I have a new genuine Suzuki air filter for it. I don't know what the air filter in it is like, but I mean, it might be brand new, in which case I won't use that one. Right, Jim, stop talking. I'm going to soak these in carb juice, and I'll bring you back in probably when they're going back on the bike. There's a little point in, you've seen enough carburetor rebuilding, haven't you, over the years from me. Right, see you on the other side. Oh, come on, Jim, get that out of there. Fish you over there. Thank you. And you. That's it. Well done. And the other thing I haven't done is the mixture screws. Where are they? Half one. Oh, only one turn out. Interesting. Half one. That's never the standard spec. Half one. One turn out. I'm not buying that. God, it must be tea time by now. I'm fucking gasping for a brew. Okay, sometime later, in fact, quite a few hours later. So these are going. In fact, let me tip the shmoo out of there into there. There. So they've gone to shiny brass. So they'll get brake cleaned off, rinse with brake cleaner, and airline to death. Same with the carburetor bodies. I'm not ultrasonicking anything. I'm just going to brake cleaner them down, spray brake cleaner in all the orifices, airline them to death. More than good enough. Didn't really get any varnish out of the bodies at all of the carbs. A little bit on the jets, but yeah. Really, they needed to come apart for the whole O-ring situation. So new O-rings on these, like we discussed. Same on the float needle valves. Split these, do these little doofers, the fuel distribution pipe O-rings. There's some O-rings on here which actually have stayed in place for the vacuum takeoff. Do they have the balancing thing? Yeah, the little balancing noggin is on the diaphragm cover. It passes through there, look, down. There's a little brass pipe which comes out into here. Okay, so I'm going to clean those off, give them a wash, reassemble them with all the new bits so they can go back together. And then what else did I want to show you? Let me take you to the bike. Got fucking carb cleaner all over my hands now, and it is very stinky. Steal one of those bits of tissue. Yeah, I wanted to show you these little jobbies. Can you see from there? These are really rubbery still, which makes me very happy. In order to get the carbs back on and get these pushed back onto the carburetors, I need to get the air filter out. I'm going to replace the air filter anyway if it's anything other than perfect. I've got a new one, as I said. Tell me, because I don't remember, this subframe, is this different to the non-K model? You know, the non-SP model? This seems different. Getting the air filter out, the battery's got to come out of the way. The battery carrier, which is bolted down underneath, I'm going to have to get all this gubbins out of the way so I can get the air filter out, which is a pain in the bum. And that way, when the carbs go back on, I can get my hand in and push the, you know, push the doofer, the little plate that's got the rubbers on, back onto the back of the carbs. Okay. Next time you see me, I'm going to be about to start this, and I will do it real time. I'm not going to start it or anything without you being here. It's going to smoke like an absolute train. All that two-stroke oil that's in there. Some of it has made its way into the exhaust pipes because, and there was a lot of GT85 as well that I was spraying in there, and it's actually dripping out of the collector underneath where the pipes join the collector, so it's going to be really smoky. So a good ride on it, I mean, assuming it goes, there's no reason why it won't, it's going to need a good, you know, 5 or 10 mile to get rid of all the schmoo in the exhaust pipe, and then we can assess properly whether it's actually burning oil or not. But it is going to need to do a few miles before we'll be able to make that judgment. And then once we've done the road test, get the cam cover off, do the valve clearances, and do another compression test. I mean, assuming all that's okay, then I'll move on to other things like rebuilding the brake calipers. I don't want to spend the customer's money unnecessarily on things it isn't going to need if it's not going to be a, you know, a working motorbike. I have looked. I really did think maybe we should get the head and barrels off it. I suspect, I don't know for certain, but I think that rusty mark is probably just staining on the cylinder wall. My gut feeling is that it's probably been there a long time and it's already run on that, you know, on that cylinder with that mark on it. It doesn't look like, as I've rotated the engine and the piston and rings have passed that mark, there are no witness marks from where the piston's gone backwards and forwards over it, you know, no sort of scoring in the cylinder, or I've got a feeling that might have been there for quite a long time. So I think it's going to be all right. What was I saying? Fucking waffling. I had a look to see if pistons and rings were available. I thought, you know what, if I can get gaskets and I can get rings for it, they're really easy to take apart. I just get some exhaust gaskets. I can get a head and base gasket, genuine Suzuki. I can't get rings. I can't get pistons. Because I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll just pull it apart, hone the cylinders, put some new rings in, put it back together. But I can't get the bits. And aftermarket parts, it seems criminal to me. I'd rather it not 100%, but all unmolested and original. Because, I don't know, my little bit of research, and you guys will probably know better than I, but apparently there was only ever 500 of these ever made, globally, not just for the UK. So this is fucking properly rare motorbike. So keeping its originality, even if it's got a little bit of patina, I think is important. Anyway, I think I've waffled enough. Pretty sure that this is the end of part 2. I know you wanted to see it running in part 2, but this video is likely over half an hour long now, and the sweet spot seems to be between half an hour and 45 minutes. Let me know what you think. I know a lot of guys, a lot of YouTubers, some of the guys I watch have got like 2-hour long episodes. Is that a thing? Would people actually make it all the way through. I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they just do it in 3 sittings, you know, themselves. And I don't know. Waffling. Appreciate all of you guys. If you can like and subscribe, that'd be amazing. Loads going on in the Discord now. In the last month or so, we've had over 100 new members join. And everybody seems to be sound. There's no bullshit. There's no knobheads in there. Everybody's respectful. Really good banter. Lots of information changing hands. It's bloody amazing. So if you want to join in that, please do. It's like £1 a month. I don't think that's excessive. And that really does support me making these videos, because YouTube pays you absolutely next to nothing. And it's the patron money that's keeping me going, making these videos once a week. So I appreciate all of you. See you next week, guys. Love you.